Well, even middle-aged people too come in, and
Yeah.
I have to. They're my assistant as well.
Hello, and welcome back for the Voice for You podcast, where we empower the leaders of today and tomorrow. I'm your host, Jeshwant Vana. Today, I'm joined by a young leader in our community. He is dedicated to improving the lives of Hispanic youth through education and policy initiatives. He serves on the Maryland Youth Advisory Council, where he has advocated for legislation and so on. He also uses the art of storytelling to teach English to over 120 immigrants as a part of Centro Hispano. His work has definitely not gone unnoticed, and he was named a Coca-Cola Scholar in the year 2025, or a 2025 Coke Scholar. Bridging the gap between to make a better world, he is Mr. Thomas Evans. How are you doing today, Tommy?
Just I'm doing amazing. It's a great day outside. Just came back from a run, so my hair is just a little bit wet, but I'm ready to start this interview.
Definitely, definitely. First off, like you go by like Tommy, right? I just go by Jesh.
Jesh, okay,
I just
awesome,
put off the
Jesh.
want at the very end. It's a lot more convenient for a lot of people. To say too, definitely. But it is. I mean, here it is no raindrops here, but it is a nice day outside. It is a good day to start with exercising. Do you like do a run in the morning and the evening?
Sometimes, usually, I just try to hit the morning.
Okay,
Just I think once you get that run in, the rest of your day, your head is really clear.
definitely,
You're just ready to approach anything with a clear
definitely.
mind.
Do you have like a set amount that you run every day, like a mile or 2 miles, or?
Yeah, so actually that's interesting. Usually in the past I would run probably like it would vary like 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles. But so I'm actually going to the University of Chicago in this fall, and the same week actually that I move in is the Chicago Half Marathon. So I'm actually training for the Chicago Half Marathon. So I'm running a little bit longer distances now. So I'm 6, 7 miles, 8 miles, stuff like that.
Definitely. That'd be your break into the Chicago scene for sure. For
100%.
sure. I know that like every year in like December, like I'm from Memphis, so we have the St. Jude Marathon every year. It's like K, 10K, half marathon, marathon. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty big deal, especially for like,
I'm
helping.
sure it is. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good cause too.
yeah, especially helping the kids. But yeah, St. Jude is a big thing, here in Memphis, especially because, headquarters is located in Memphis and all that too. Definitely.
Yeah.
But, you've already told us about, your hobby of running. But before I wanted to get into the interview, tell me a little bit about yourself, your hobbies, your passions, and who you are as a person.
Yeah, so as you said, I'm a storyteller. I like to meet people and I love to help people. And I know it's a very general thing, but when I was a little kid, I lived in Japan with my family. And because of that like environment, I had to learn how to communicate with people. Just because the people around me did not speak English at all.
Yeah.
So I had to learn various ways in order to communicate. And through that, I've just been able to find my love for teaching, which you've explained in the introduction. I do a lot of teaching with kids, with science, and with older members of the community. I love advocacy too. So in the same way that I communicate with people, I also feel like I have an obligation to help them as well, just because of the relationship we build up through that communication. So as you said, I'm really passionate about advocacy through the Maryland Youth Advisory Council, especially with immigrant related bills. And this year, it's such a hot topic, and we got a lot of stuff done in this year's legislative session. So that's just kind of a little brief synopsis of who I am as a person.
Definitely. And you did kind of fail to mention that you also DJ. That's always something that I've always found interesting myself. I've been a big music guy. My parents tried pushing me into the DJ scene. I wanted to do DJing. I still is something I wanna try. Definitely. It is senior year, so second half senior year, maybe my parents said it's a nice what's it called? Side gig for sure. Would you say it is a pretty good side gig?
Yeah, I mean, it's like not that difficult to learn.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the equipment initially it's kind of expensive, but once you like you like push a few buttons, it's not difficult at all. And like the pays really good. I mean, you just DJ for like what, 2 hours, and you can charge like $60. I don't know. If you're
Exactly.
just a startup, so it's like it's not that hard to
Yeah.
get into that scene.
I want to really start getting into that for sure. Because do you have a musical background? Because obviously every good DJ has, you know.
So my passion for DJ did not come from like a music background. It just kind of came from my love for like Bad Bunny. I love Bad Bunny. I love all that kind of music. So that's kind of where that came from. But I do have a big musical background. Just a week ago, I had my senior piano recital. So I've been playing piano for, I'd say, around 10 years. So since I was 8 years old. So I had just had that recital. Piano has been such an elemental part of my life throughout these couple of years. It's just kind of another outlet to explore whenever I need to.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a vocalist. I sing. I did Indian classical music for like a decade, so I can definitely see where you're coming from. I have a keyboard right here, so I don't know how to play like piano fluently, but like just singing along with like the chords and making it sound nice, but definitely. So before I get into my interviews, I like to ask a more lighthearted, question, just lighten the mood and like an icebreaker to like get the mind thinking, because these questions, I'm telling you, they are totally different from anything else I will ask if you ask anybody. So if you had one Disney movie to describe yourself, what would it be and why?
That's such a tough, because okay, honestly, like I was more of I'm trying to think, Disney movie. I'd say like Aladdin, I think.
Oh, definitely. That's a classic. That's definitely
Aladdin. Yeah, so I think like the environment, like the landscape of Aladdin is very different from a lot of the typical Disney movies. It's like set in a different culture, different background. The architecture is different. The elements of like the landscape are different. And it's just a totally different feel from other movies. And like for me, I'm a guy that likes to explore new things and likes to travel. Actually, in fact, one of the places I've always wanted to visit is either somewhere in the Middle East or India. So
definitely.
Yeah.
India, I am Indian myself, so I can say that India is a very nice place. It is.
Which state are you from?
I'm from Andhra Pradesh.
Andhra Pradesh. Okay.
Have you heard of it?
Awesome.
Have you heard of it or?
Oh yeah, that's in the south, right?
Yeah. Oh damn.
Yeah.
Okay. I see you. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's the first time I've ever actually talked to someone that isn't
have,
Indian. Is like.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that are Telugu, so.
Okay. So okay, that's nice. That's nice. Definitely. Yeah, I know the DMV. DMV has a lot of Indians too. I was one of the people at Agnea. He's also from the DMV, I believe. Coca-Cola Scholar.
Yeah, Agnea, you met him. Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of Indians in the DMV, but that's super cool that you actually like. That's the first time I ever talked to someone non-Indian. Is like, I know the state and I know your language. Like, that's crazy, dude. What?
Yeah, my girlfriend's actually Gujarati, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're intact with our culture. That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Definitely. So I could probably talk to you in like Indian stuff, and you definitely be able to.
I could probably fire back at you too.
Definitely. I see you, man. I see you definitely. Do you do you like watch movies and like or like Disney movies? Did you ever like as a kid?
Disney movies, not particularly. Like like the kind of the hit ones like Aladdin and all of that. Like I've watched those.
Yeah, definitely.
But kind of the more lesser known movies I have not watched as much. So I wouldn't say like I'm a big Disney guy, but I know a decent amount.
Yeah, the hits. I mean, the hits are the hits.
Hits are the hits. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you got Lion King, Aladdin, Lilo and Stitch dropped the other day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That scene's been popping for sure. But obviously you did just mention that you are committed to the University of Chicago for college. So as a senior that has graduated, first off, congratulations on graduating high school.
Thank you.
A pretty big deal. What made you apply to the University of Chicago, and like what made you want to commit there?
So when I was my sophomore year of high school, I had this wild idea. I saw someone um, make a list of all the colleges in the United States, and they had an email with associated with that college. And I saw them asking for free stuff from these colleges. And like day by day, I took emails from that list just randomly, and I was said, "Hey, I don't want T-shirts. I don't want anything like that. I want a book that will define your college experience." Because when I was that age, I still love to read, but I wanted to
Yeah,
collect as many books as possible. So in my mind, I thought if I ask these people to send a book, I'll get a book and I'll be able to like collect more books and whatever. So I wasn't actually like trying to figure out the college experience. I was just trying to get more books. Um,
definitely.
but I got a lot of responses by email suggesting me different books. They didn't send me, well, most of the colleges didn't send me any books, but they just kept sending me emails like, hey, I suggest this book. This book defines this college experience and whatnot. But the school that sent me like a really different response, they didn't send me a book, but they sent me a really unique response, was the University of Chicago. And they said that no book can define our college experience because the college experience in itself is what you make of it.
Definitely. No.
So
Yeah.
in that sense, they contradicted what I was trying to do, but I liked that. I liked that way of correcting me and saying that, hey, it's what you make of it. No one can tell you what's going to be the college experience. It's your experience. Uh, so I never heard of University of Chicago before that. But then I researched and I found that it's like one of the top schools in the United
Yes.
States, and I was like, okay. And then like come senior year, junior year, I visited Chicago. I loved it. And honestly, it wasn't at the top of my list coming into my senior year. I was looking at Duke. Duke was like my number one. And U Chicago was like secondary, but I got in through U Chicago EA. So I was like, dang, okay, like I think that seals the deal right
That's
there.
exactly,
Um,
yeah.
but also just in general with U Chicago, they're very different. I think they're not um they don't really follow the general like crowd, I would say. So you have like all these
Exactly.
top universities, they're all doing kind of the same thing, and especially now with all these government cuts and everything like that, U Chicago just tends to kind of stay out of that. And I kind of agree with that a lot. And I want to be able to go to college and just be able to express free speech is big on U Chicago's campus. So
Definitely.
that's a big thing for me.
Definitely. And obviously you are planning on going to like, the more business and economic side, and you
Yeah,
Chicago
that too.
is,
Economics
yeah,
program there is crazy.
one of the best business programs. Ironically, I'm a rising senior, so this has been my top school for
Oh, geez,
ever.
dude.
Yeah, it's been my top school, my dream school since I was like fifth or sixth grade. You had
Yeah.
your story behind you, Chicago. I have a long story with Duke, definitely.
Yeah, and I had my story with Duke too. Like I was born actually at the UNC Chapel Hill Medical Center.
Oh shoot.
So, and I also applied there, and I got into UNC, but um, Duke was kind of like the place where my parents would like take me to go. You've been there, right? To Duke.
I was out like 10 minutes away from like the Duke. I didn't like get to because it was like a
Gotcha.
family function, so my
Well,
parents let me go to
yeah, North Carolina.
yeah.
Yeah. But no, if you go there someday, like there's a garden called the Sarah P. Duke Gardens, and when I was young, my parents used to take me there all the time, and it's a beautiful, beautiful campus.
Yes.
And I
Yes,
used to
it's
like
up
play
there.
around, and I had so many memories there. But they waitlisted me, so
You Chicago took you EA, so
yeah, no, I
that's
mean,
all that
I'm not
matters.
I'm not too bummed about it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But most people when I talk to them, it's like why you chose this school. Yours seems more personal, which is actually a good thing because that makes you like yearn to like want to go there more. A lot of people it's like, oh, I got this scholarship, so I'm going. Oh, I saw this was good in this program, so that's why I'm going. But you actually have like a personal connection with these schools, which is like it makes you want to,
Yeah. Yeah, and it was a hard choice. Like looking at the schools I got accepted to, it was a really difficult choice. Ironically, I was accepted into Rice, WashU, and U Chicago. And WashU, they have a scholars program, right? And they're
Yes.
really big on that scholars program. And they flew me out to St. Louis to see and for anyone that's watching, and even for you, Jesh, like don't don't overlook WashU. It's a great school. It's amazing. And
Definitely.
even though I'm going to U Chicago, that school will always have my heart. So definitely apply there. I'll put in a plug for WashU. Definitely apply there.
Definitely. I know one of my friends, he was in my calc class. He ED'd to WashU and he's going to WashU now. So
Oh, awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience there.
Definitely. I'll have to keep my eye open for that too, because I don't know. I'm still trying to like compile my college
it's
list
difficult.
to like Duke is the only one that I'm like for sure gonna apply to, and then obviously like more local colleges like Memphis and like UTK, and then probably Vanderbilt too, because it's like 3 hours from here and it's also a top school. Definitely. But it's tough. Senior, you already went through all of it. You know how it is. It's scary. I'm scared, but definitely.
It's up there. I think you just like take it week by week. Once December is over, mid-January, you're kind of chilling.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously, to get the Coca-Cola Scholarship, you had a bunch of ECs to go, like crazy ECs to go along with it, which you obviously like do like some crazy stuff for sure. And one example is you serve as the vice chair of the Maryland Youth Advisory Council. So how did you learn about this Youth Advisory Council, and how did you get involved with it?
So I had a friend who 2 years ago was doing the same internship I was doing, and she told me, we networked, and she told me about her time on the council and how it was really a great experience. So I was like, ironically, there was 1 week to apply to the council since I started the internship and I met her. So I was like, okay, I need to lock in and get this done. And, I think what it was meant to be, right? So I received the position on the Maryland Advisory Council. I'm not vice chair the first year, but the second year I was vice chair. But initially I was just a council member appointed by the governor of Maryland, which was really, really cool. Yeah. And yeah, so that was just kind of how I learned about the council.
Definitely. Did you like personally know the governor of Maryland, or was it like, how did that conversation work?
Yeah, so that's like within the council, that's kind of a frustration because we do a lot of really cool things, but the governor still has not like come and met with us yet. So no, I have not met the governor yet, which is kind of a bummer.
You
but
can always advocate for it if you really want to.
Oh yeah, no, we're trying. This summer before my term is over, we're gonna meet that governor.
Definitely. You can always just like come to just go to Capitol Hill and say I'm part of the Youth Advisory Council or something like that for sure.
Maybe, yeah.
Definitely. So, you can be on an advisory council like that, but it's the impact that matters, and
Right.
You have made a massive impact, such as advocating for legislation. Could you more elaborate on what this legislation you advocated for was?
Yeah. So, in general, when we talk about advocating for legislation, like at our age, right, it usually means like making sure that youth are aware of the bills that are going are passing, right? So that can be done through social media, word of mouth, contacting organizations, and that's kind of that's one part of what we do. But the majority of what we do in terms of advocating for legislation is we write testimony. What this is we, members of the council, we look within our own communities. So for example, the communities I'm a part of, immigrant community, the youth community, in Frederick, and we write testimony or we give oral testimony. So this is, going to Annapolis and speaking in front of legislators there about our experiences within our own communities and how it relates to whatever bill is being talked about. Or this can be done virtually. So we write testimony, just giving our little insight on the bill, and we send it to be considered when it's, when the bill is being discussed. So this last year we had a bill, House Bill, I forgot the number, but there's a lot of them, but it was a bill that would basically eliminate barriers or open up access to medical insurance for the immigrant community.
Yes.
because there was a lot of like discussion about taking that away or like putting even more barriers. And this was last year. This wasn't even this year with everything that's going on. So
Yes.
we were able to successfully kind of say like, hey, let's eliminate any barriers or eliminate kind of some barriers that are barring these people from receiving adequate medical assistance. So yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Especially TARP making that. How were you able to because most of your work with the Maryland Youth Advisory Council is to, advocate for the youth and achieving that, American dream. So how are you able to tailor it more towards the youth rather than, adults per se?
So like more, how am I able to make it more youth
Obviously,
specific and then less
yeah.
adult?
Yes, pretty
Oh,
much.
okay. Yeah, no, that's an awesome question. So we're called the Maryland Youth Advisory Council, right? So
Yes.
youth obviously is in the thing. So we have to make it everything youth related. But one of the ways we do this, every year we hold a community conversation, and we have this in Annapolis, and we invite organizations across Maryland, youth-led organizations across Maryland, and just individual youth as a whole to come to Annapolis and basically engage in this large community event
Yes.
where we discuss the problems that are facing our community. And because this is in December, this is before the legislative session, so which starts in January. So we use whatever we hear in this huge gathering to influence our priorities for the legislative session. So for example, if a lot of youth come into this community conversation and are saying, hey, in my school, there's not a lot of, Narcan, right? That was kind of a big deal this year. I mean, if no one knows, Narcan is like the something that can reverse the effects of an overdose. So youth were like, hey, a lot of this has happened in my school. We would really like to see more Narcan. So this year we kind of shifted our priorities, and we're like, hey, if there's a bill that's like kind of along this lines, we'll advocate for that. And that's totally informed by youth voice through that community conversation. And another way, we have this community grant project that we do every year. So we have $5,000 allocated to our organization to distribute to 5 different organizations across Maryland that are looking to create an even bigger impact with this monetary award. And actually, that's still ongoing. But yeah, and totally youth-led. Everything's youth-led.
Definitely, definitely. So, yeah, like you said, Maryland Youth Advisory Council, and the fact that you're able to tailor it, and especially like making such a big convention, like in Annapolis. I pronounced that right, Annapolis,
Yeah,
right?
Annapolis, yeah.
Okay, yeah, definitely, definitely. Because getting a big group of like high schoolers in general. When you say youth, you're just mainly talking about like the high school.
No, actually, so this past year we had a lot of middle schoolers too.
Okay. Okay, that's nice.
Even elementary. Yeah.
Okay, that's nice. So, taking K through 12 into one area, and advocating, especially getting like the younger kids to like advocate for what they think. That's truly amazing, dude. Like that's crazy. Crazy. And also a part of the Maryland Youth Advisory Council. Like you said, y'all met in Annapolis. And was this you also did found your county's first $4.3 million youth center. Let me repeat that again. 4.3 million. That is a hefty amount. So was that like the convention hall? Was that the convention hall for the Annapolis, or
no? So how did that work? These are two very different, really different things. Yeah.
Okay. So what was this? What's the story behind the youth center then?
I'd love to tell this one. Last year, or kind of 2023, end of 2023, I received an email from this organization called the Osherman Family Foundation, which in our county is a very local and grassroots philanthropic organization. So they have a lot of money, but they wanted to start this youth council, the Frederick Youth Council, in order to advise the construction of this youth resource center. So, because if you know, a lot of youth resource centers in the United States are very much government-led, government-funded. So, they just have a lot of government input from officials and all things like that, but they have zero input from the actual community and what the community actually needs.
Yeah.
So this philanthropic organization wanted to create this youth council to advise this construction and to make it very youth led. So I was elected vice chair of that Frederick Youth Council, and because of the nature of this council, I was able to, meet with architects and discuss the building plans. And we're gonna start building in October of this year,
Okay,
which is
that's
really
nice.
exciting. But yeah, I mean, it was a very unique approach to this building. You don't hear a lot of private organizations getting all these youth together to advise such a big
Such a big project. Yeah,
construction. Yeah,
definitely.
so it's been an amazing time, and beyond that, the Freddie Youth Council does a lot of different things. We go to City Hall a lot. We talk with local city officials, and yeah, I mean it's just a very. I live in Frederick, so
Yeah.
Frederick is like an hour outside of DC, hour outside of Baltimore.
Okay.
It's a very kind of a smaller town, but it has a lot of personality, I would say.
Definitely.
So, you would always see like a neighbor at the grocery store or something it's like that kind of small town feel.
Small
So
town niche. Yeah.
it's very, very everyone knows each other. It's very nice. Very nice.
Definitely. Definitely. And you're also like in a big hub, like you said, Baltimore's an hour, DC is an hour, and like, not only is it a small town, but if you ever need to go somewhere big, Baltimore's right there, DC's
DC's
right
right
there.
there. Yeah.
Boom. So you're
Yep.
set. You're set. So have you? So obviously you're part of the Frederick Youth Council, and you're also part of the Maryland Youth Council. So have you ever like tried integrating like ideas between the two, like take some ideas from Maryland and use it in the Frederick Youth Council or Frederick Youth Council into Maryland?
Yeah. So actually that's we had an event in September of last year, where we bridged the two. We did like a collaboration. I was
Okay.
able to collab between the two organizations, and we held a town hall. So we had like I told you about the community conversation. The Maryland Youth Council also likes to hold town halls, and they're exactly what they sound like. They're just local conversations where we invite youth to come and talk about the problems facing that specific community. So we had the Frederick Youth Town Hall, and that was, like I said, a collaboration between the FYC and MIAC. Great, a lot of people showed up, and yeah, it was really nice.
That's nice too, because it was just a collaboration between the like your two youth councils, right? Was
Yeah,
there other youth? Because I know like obviously if Frederick has one, that means other little cities, like other
yeah,
cities.
yeah. There's Yeah, so actually in June, yeah, well, it's June now, but we also have the Hagerstown Town Hall coming up. So Hagerstown is
Okay.
like 30 minutes west of Frederick, so kind of
Yeah.
more rural, farther from DC and Baltimore. But that's how going to be a collab between the Hagerstown Youth Council and then the Maryland Youth Council.
Yeah, that's nice because obviously Maryland is the state, and then you have towns like Frederick and Hagerstown.
Yeah.
Definitely. But what, in your opinion, would be the end goal for the youth center? Like, what is your big dream of how the youth center is going to turn out?
So I have this I would say it's realistic dream of seeing the youth center being a place where people can come and not only enjoy or utilize the resources of the center, but also play a part in running the youth center. So led by the community and enjoyed by the community, right? Because a lot of what's happening now in these youth centers across the United States is it's not led by the community, it's only enjoyed by the community. And the people that are leading these resource centers are usually people that are like paid. And of course, I'm not sure if you work the job, but I wouldn't say that working at the youth center is probably the most beautiful job in the
Yeah.
world. So if you're getting paid for it and you don't necessarily like it, you're gonna be like,
No.
you're not gonna put your heart into it. Let's just put it that way. You're not gonna put
Yeah.
your heart into it. So, I envision a place where, moms, dads, kids, high schoolers can come in and maybe like work work a stand, like a concession stand within the building. I know we're talking about having a garden as well, which is a big thing.
Oh.
I'm a huge fan of community gardens. I've always heard about it, and I can just imagine, like adults coming in and like watering the plants, and then the kids coming in and picking it up. Just like
Definitely.
that. It's a circular flow, right?
Yes.
The circular flow. And we also talked about there is going to be like a space within the youth center where future entrepreneurs can have a place to sell their items.
Okay, that's nice. That's
So,
nice.
if you're like, I'm not sure, my friend likes to sell earrings
Oh,
that are
okay.
homemade.
Yes.
So, she built that business from ground up, and, she wants to go
It's
and
a place for them
sell
to
earrings.
shine. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. We provide that platform for youth to further their dreams, and
Yes.
especially with entrepreneurship too. That's a big thing.
Definitely, definitely. I can speak for entrepreneurship because I'm a part of FBL. Do you know what FBLA
Yeah,
is?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I currently serve as Tennessee's executive vice president, like Tennessee FBLA's executive vice president. So,
Jeez, man.
yeah. So,
Congrats.
entrepreneurship, I see that, firsthand, especially, future business leaders of America. So, it is, entrepreneurship. And obviously, I have talked to other people, with their own business. I've always wanted to like start like, I've always been big on graphic design, so I've always wanted to start like a hoodie business,
Oh yeah.
like graphic apparel. But business is, especially like take your friend with the earrings, right? That's something she's like, probably just started off as a hobby, and now she built it up from the ground up. And who don't get me, like homemade earrings are really nice. Like from what I've seen, obviously I don't have earring piercings, but from what I've seen, they are really nice, especially because it comes from the heart and it's like passion.
Exactly.
It's not like work and stuff. And with the gardens too, you had your childhood with the gardens at Duke. So, you have that connection with gardens, and obviously you want that, with the other youth in the Maryland area too, to, stay inspired. And that's truly, truly crazy. How crazy of gardens are you thinking? It's like small pond, type thing, or like,
So I'm thinking more of like, what's the word? I would say more quality over visual,
yeah,
like visual appeal. So I'm not thinking like Japanese gardens or like anything
oh,
like
yes.
beautiful per se, but I'm just thinking like gardens that are well maintained.
Yes.
Whether they just be boxes of tomato plants, of cucumber like it doesn't matter, but um, yeah, nothing like out of
Crazy, crazy
if you're
out of
walking
them.
in France or something and like seeing these gardens, like
No,
not like that.
definitely, definitely. Those are some crazy, crazy gardens, That
Yeah.
would take more maintaining than the actual youth center, I believe. So,
Oh, for sure, for sure.
yeah. But not apart from, being vice chair of both, not just the Maryland Youth Council, but the Frederick Youth Council, you are also, like we have mentioned earlier, you are very passionate on the storytelling and to teaching English to over 120 immigrants, a part of Centro Hispanio, which is a local nonprofit. So, how did you get involved with, Centro Hispanio and start doing work with them?
So about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, I reached out, just kind of like a blanket. You know how you send out those cold emails? I sent
Yeah.
a cold email to Centro Hispano and just asking, hey, if there's any way I can get involved in your organization. And they accepted me with open arms. They were like, hey, you can get started teaching, being like an assistant teacher for a class. And then for some reason, like when I came, all the teachers were like graduating college or gonna move on to like their work career
Perfect timing.
after. So there was like a mass exodus of teachers leaving. So of course, like I couldn't just be an assistant like the first month I came. They had to push me up to like being a main teacher. And as like a sophomore in high school, like I was like, that was a little scary because
Yeah.
I'd never done that before. But no, I mean, I fell in love with just the ability to control um what I can teach, being able to have a mark on the curriculum, and what my students learn. And at the same time, like I know this sounds kind of cliche, but I became friends with a lot of my students, and yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
We used to
No,
talk
no.
about. For me, it didn't just become about going and teaching English and making sure that they're adequate in learning English and all of that, but it became more about like, hey, like I'm gonna go see my friends like every time I went. It was just such a beautiful thing to and it's kind of made me want to pursue that career in immigration law, when I, further down the line. But no, Centro Hispano has been kind of, so if you look at like the Common App, or you have the Common App, you're familiar with that and everything.
Yes.
I think Centro Hispano, and even in my essays, Centro Hispano was like the first on the Common App, and like the first thing I put on all my essays, just because of how much like I gave myself to the organization and how much that organization gave to me, which of course like is a beautiful thing. And like for high schoolers, like the one thing I have to like impart on high schoolers, the most important thing is just to like find that like one organization that's going to be like your anchor organization, where you can walk in and everybody knows your name, right? And in the same way you can like give back what you have to that organization as well. And it just becomes something you can talk about, you can write about in your essays and whatnot. So yeah, that's my story with Centro Hispano.
Definitely. Are you like fluent in Spanish?
Yeah, I'm fluent in Spanish. So yeah, my mom's Ecuadorian, and actually my grandparents are here from Ecuador because they came to my graduation. So that's nice.
Yeah, but that's what my mom is planning to do next year with my grandparents. Graduating next year, so they've already started planning them coming next year from India. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like you said, always having that one organization to have as your rock. Obviously a lot of your students are probably the same age as you, so that also helps a lot too in your will to go there, because you can obviously relate to them. You can speak to them, you can relate to them pretty well. So definitely. And obviously, like you said, you are a teacher, and you get to, your favorite part about it is getting to create your own curriculum. So what do you focus on most with your curriculum?
I focus a lot more on conversation. For me is the most important thing. When I was there at Centro Hispano, I did a lot of things beyond teaching at Centro Hispano, but one of the things I'd begun, and it's still going on at Centro Hispano, is this program called the Conversational Language Learning Program, and it's exactly what it sounds like. So it's where people can come in beyond the English classes and they just talk with a teacher, an English teacher, for an hour. And there's like a certain list of vocabulary that the teacher has that needs to be included in the conversation. But it's just a regular conversation. It's not scripted. So it's not anything like that. It's just a regular conversation. And through that, they can build up muscle memory a lot faster through that active learning rather than just passive learning, reading and writing, in the books.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. No, obviously, like you mentioned, you have done more than just be a teacher. But before I get into that, like you said, you started off as an assistant, but you didn't have time to stay in that assistant role due to the fact that a lot of the teachers were moving away and becoming moving on to college. So did you have any assistants under you while you were a teacher per se?
Yeah, so I had a couple, and I still have some under me. But what's funny is that in the history of the organization, I was the first high schooler they took in to teach English, which for me, looking back, that's extremely lucky that they were even open to having a high schooler come in and teach. But now, kind of 2.5 years in, they've kind of made me the main teacher for that all the time. And we get a lot of new people coming in, and a lot of new people that are coming in are probably, they're in their senior, not their senior year, but their senior age.
Yes.
So a lot older people want to come and teach. So what's funny is that even though I'm younger, they're my assistant. So it's kind of ironic how that works.
That's ironic for sure. Yeah, because they are older, and
well, even middle-aged people too come in, and they're my assistant as well. So that's also kind of interesting too. I'm sure they don't like it too much sometimes, but they're probably why is this guy teaching me? But it's fun.
Definitely. But like I've mentioned, like you have mentioned actually, you do more than just teach these people English with Centro Hispano. You also founded a piano program that has, well, as you said, plants the seeds for self-expression in the Hispanic youth. And obviously, like you did say, you've been playing piano since the age of 8, and you had your senior piano recital. So how did you fall in love with the piano per se, and keep on continuing that journey?
So My journey with the piano started in Japan. As I said earlier, like I didn't speak the language. Well, I kind of did at that time, but I also didn't speak it fluently. So I needed other ways to communicate, and one of those ways was through the piano. Just because everyone around me played the piano, and I heard them play some really cool songs, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna hop on that too, and I'm gonna play. So I like obviously started lessons, um, and I did competition piano when I was probably like middle school, elementary school, not so much high school, just because I didn't have a lot of time to do it.
Yeah.
But for me, the piano has always just kind of been an outlet for just like creative expression and just general like mental health.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If like there's a lot of things going on, especially in high school, and especially with, I imagine you're probably like very busy with a lot of things, especially this. It just became kind of like a way that I can escape a lot of the pressure, a healthy way to escape that pressure. So, looking at Century Span and looking at a lot of the people I teach, I said, hey, there's something missing here, and that's a way for these kids to be able to just learn something new, to have that outlet, that healthy outlet, for self-expression. I wanted to give that gift. I think that's the best way to say it. I wanted to give that gift because it is truly a gift to be able to play the piano. So yeah, last summer I started that, and it was really successful. And actually, it's starting up in 10 days. So really excited about it.
That's nice. That's nice. Like you said, music is an outlet, just for creative expression, just like peaceful mind too. Like I said, when I'm just, need peace, pull up the piano, start singing, practicing something, hitting some keys, something like that. And obviously you can relate too, because, as a pianist, that is an outlet. Music is always a good outlet.
100%.
Exactly. So obviously, founding this piano program, you have basically the reins. So how were you able to, in your opinion, inspire the kids which you teach to become more passionate about the piano like you were when you started in Japan?
So one of the ways I did it was I tried to model the exact same way I started playing the piano. So what I did was I received funding to obviously purchase books and supplies like that.
Yeah.
But the books that I purchased for the kids were the same exact book I used when I started learning the piano. And I remember like that book was the reason why I wanted to continue playing the piano. And there was nothing like special about it. I just remember it being such a fun book to use. So kind of in the way I taught the piano, I made it so very much similar to how I learned beyond the book. So with like learning the notes, I did the same activities I was given when I was at their age or when I was learning the piano. And yeah, just kind of modeling that same experience I had when starting for my piano students was how I was able to capture their attention and capture their passion for the piano.
Definitely. It's a beautiful thing that you're doing to, inspire these students to become more passionate with music, because music, like we both have mentioned, it is an outlet for, many different ways. And, obviously with your experience, you have experience with the piano, so you're always obviously able to pass that down to the next generation and, make them passionate, and hopefully they pass it down to the next generation, So yeah, definitely. But also, in addition to your advocacy work, you are also a poet. You write poetry. So have you submitted poetry for competition, or you just like write poetry for fun, or how's that?
So I don't typically submit my poetry for competition a lot, but what's funny is that one of the few competitions I submitted my poetry to, and one of the most prestigious competitions in the United States actually, was the I'm not sure if you're familiar, National Scholastic.
Yes,
writing. Yeah. So I was lucky, honestly. I just submitted my poetry to that and I won the national gold medal in poetry. So yeah, so like not the state, it was like the national gold medal.
Yes.
And that was like, wow, that's kind of insane. But yeah, no, like for me, poetry is more of just an outlet, again, for self-expression, not so much competition. But
yeah. What is your favorite piece that you've ever written?
My favorite piece that I've ever written, probably like So some of the poetry I've written is inspired by like the students at Centro Hispano. So one of the pieces that I wrote and submitted for the National Scholastic Art and Writing Competition was inspired by one of the students I taught a couple years ago. So that's probably to this day probably one of my most favorite. And I've had this writing mentor since I was in freshman year of high school, and he's since I've written that piece, he's like, that's your best piece you've ever written. So
Definitely, because you're obviously tying personal experience into it too, which
exactly.
makes it more personal and more. You're able to vividly speak about that experience as well too, for sure, for sure. And just doing it as a side, getting gold nationally, scholastic. That's like one of the most prestigious writing and art competitions. I remember I was doing my research because I wanted to submit something for that. I never got around to. Who knows? Maybe I did pass your work and the name. Because I was just reading the work. I never actually like read the names to go along with it, because like
Uh,
they do show all that. So I'm definitely gonna go check afterwards and read it for myself. Because if it's national gold, then that's definitely like it's got to be there, right? Like
yeah,
definitely.
it's there.
Yeah.
They have that weird like when with the winners, they have that weird like spreadsheet. You
Yeah.
have to kind of like
Yeah, and
go, you have
it's
to, like search for it, but
it's
you'll
like
see it.
scrambled. Yeah.
I was like, dang. So when I found out I won, I was on a plane. But you have to like, I was like scrolling through the name. Yeah, I was like scrolling through the names. I was like, oh my god, that's my name. So I was like, okay. But
Definitely, definitely. And along with poetry, the piano, Maryland Youth Council, and all of that, like we did mention at the very beginning, you DJ. When did you start DJing?
so during the pandemic, well, kind of before, I was into music production.
Yes, definitely.
So I had a, oh my god, this is to this day I still laugh, but I had a SoundCloud,
Oh,
and
dude, don't worry. If you're talking SoundCloud freshman year pandemic, you're talking to the right guy, bro. Don't worry.
yeah, no,
Don't
that was
worry.
me. I was making those beats so much so that my mom was like, you're not hopping on, what was the thing? Ableton, not Ableton, FLX Studio or whatever that.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, so it's just like you're not gonna hop on that until you finish your homework. So I was like, oh man. So I would finish my homework just to do that, and then I would make my beats, and I would post them on SoundCloud. But then I was like, I kind of got bored of it, so I was like, I need to do something else, but kind of in that same
Same
realm a little
realm.
bit.
Yeah.
Um, and around that time, I fell in love with like Bad Bunny and all that music, that like kind of club party music.
Yeah.
And I was like, geez, like imagine myself up there on a stage, like with people around me, and like me being able to control the vibe and all
The
of that.
vibe in the crowd. Yeah.
So I bought myself a small controller to get started, and then honestly, like you don't need tutorials. You can just explore yourself, and you just become so good at it the more you do it.
Yeah.
Because it's just about your knowledge of the music, and that's it. I mean, like,
Exactly.
if you know what songs to play, then you're chilling. You know how to mix them and all that. So,
Exactly. Exactly. Funny story. This mic setup right here.
hmm
I got this in the pandemic too, because I was also a wannabe rapper, wannabe singer.
oh man,
So, don't worry, I have my own experience with SoundCloud and YouTube and all
at
that
least you whipped it
too.
out for this.
Yeah. Yeah, but I like, if anyone can relate, it's definitely me for sure, because that was definitely a time. And I dropped music constantly. I was just like, just singing and rapping. I tried doing covers. I stopped. I still do like covers, but it's more like not rapping. It's more singing based. Because that's what I feel like I'm better at rather than rapping. Rapping was just because I listened to a lot of like drill music, like Pop Smoke and all that. In the pandemic.
Yeah,
So yeah, but definitely. And music production has always been something I've been interested into. So maybe I've always wanted to try DJing. So
you
definitely
should.
have to talk afterwards and figure that out. Definitely, definitely. So with all of these accomplishments, with the Maryland Youth Advisory Council, the Frederick Youth Council, Centro Hispano, and so on and so forth, you were named a Coca-Cola Scholar for 2025. So how did this process, how was this process in your head, and how was that experience, traveling to Atlanta and meeting 149 super, super talented, high schoolers across the country?
So the process itself and applying to the scholarship was incredibly difficult, and honestly, it was very nerve wracking I think, because as you know, there's different stages, right?
Yes.
So every stage that I approached, I was crossing my fingers. And honestly, in some points of that journey, I was more stressed about that than I was about the college applications. Just because I knew of the magnitude of the scholarship and how prestigious, um, just how much it would mean to me,
Yeah.
and my community to get that scholarship. But, I received it. I'm very fortunate, very honored to have received that scholarship. And of course, as you mentioned, part of the scholarship and actually the requirement of the scholarship is you have to go down to Atlanta for 3 nights. And to this day, I'll always remember that time in Atlanta. It was an incredible time. One, I think the main thing was the opportunity to network with 150 of the most talented students across the country.
Yes.
These students are not just students that just roll out of bed in the morning. They're students that are up very early and go to sleep very late at night. Not only academically, but just community wise, helping out their community. So, being able to connect with them, and I'm very confident that those connections will sustain themselves in the future. So I know that if I need anything, right, I can go to them, and if they need anything, they know they can go to me. So that was really nice to have that gateway right there. Beyond that, the experience itself at the Coca-Cola Scholars Weekend was actually very fun. We went to the Coke Worlds in Atlanta. I'm not sure if you've been there.
Yes.
Able to test out all the different Coke flavors. That was really fun. Meanwhile, we were put into this program, this Leadership Development Institute program, where we able to touch up on our leadership skills. And then the final night was actually extremely fun. If you look at one of my Instagram story highlights, you'd see that I still have some clips from that night. But it was a celebration at the Coke headquarters.
Okay.
So it was a gated area, but the Coke headquarters is so nice, and they had a DJ there, and there was this huge basically dance party, and there was Coke Coke products everywhere for free, and they're not Coke products that you'd see in a gas station, but Coke products you would not see anywhere in the United States.
Yeah.
We were drinking that. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience that I'll never forget. So
Definitely. And I know there are a few Coke Scholars that are going to Chicago too, so
there's only one.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. A lot, if you go to Coke Scholars Weekend, most of the people are going to
Stanford and
PSM, so Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, MIT.
Yes.
And I feel for me going to Chicago, obviously Chicago's the same or up there with those schools.
Definitely.
But it was a very, very unique introduction to say, hey, I'm going to Chicago, and they're like, oh my god, that's different.
It's not the normal Harvard, Yale, Princeton,
Yeah, and I didn't apply to any of those schools either, so I was like, yeah, I guess I'm different then. So
definitely, that brings a little flavor to you too.
Exactly, and I appreciate that. Yeah,
definitely. During the DJ, did you request Bad Bunny?
Oh yeah. Actually, I was people were chanting for me to go up and DJ, actually, because the DJ was, and what's crazy was the DJ was our age too. They hired a DJ to the DJ at the Coca-Cola headquarters, but the DJ was our age. I'm like, bro, put me up there, put me on.
Did you or nah?
Nah, they didn't. He didn't let me. He was like, nah. He was gatekeeping.
Dang, dude. Hey, should just snuck up there and show the skills that you got, bro.
I know. Maybe
some people just get salty sometimes, for sure. 100%. But at the end of all of this, after meeting all these new people, why do you personally believe you are a Coke Scholar?
I think for me, I just, beyond you said, all the accomplishments and all of that, I'm just someone that just loves to be different. And I think with the interview that was part of the application process, I showed that in just the way I presented different details of my life. And even within the Coke Scholars Weekend, I would say that I stood out, not in a bad way, but in a good way, and not because of my accomplishments or anything like that, but just because I'm someone that one likes to talk and has very niche interests like DJing, poetry, running. Like I wouldn't say a lot of people have that combination of interests. And I think, in a world where a lot of people try to follow one another in terms of like their interests and their personality, I'm someone that kind of diverges from that. And I like to create my own space. And I think with the Coke Scholar, they saw that and they really like that. And I think, as if you're looking for people to change the world, to change your community, you need someone that's not gonna follow the mold and someone that's just gonna do their own thing. So in a good way, all in a good way.
Yes. 100%. Y'all, Coke Scholars, the reason they picked y'all is not because, y'all rep Coke the best, or like y'all drink a lot of Coke, or because y'all have the best stats in the world, but it's because you have a true passion for what you do and the drive to do it 24/7, like you said. And also, obviously, you did meet the other ones, and including, like, don't like 100%, including yourself. All of y'all are very, very driven on what you do, especially with your work with the Hispanic, culture. And what is your favorite part about your culture, by the way?
The favorite part about my culture is probably it's a lot of things actually.
Definitely.
I think the humility, I think, is a big thing, especially if especially like first generation immigrants to the United States. A lot of Hispanic immigrants are very, very humble, and they'll do a lot of things that a lot of people wouldn't do in the United States. And I think that's just like a representation of just how humble and how much we care,
Definitely.
So I think that's one of my most favorite parts of the culture.
Definitely. Immigrants are usually more humble. They have came from a background. Obviously, I am an immigrant myself, so I definitely can see that for sure. But like coming back to what I was saying earlier, drive, passion, that's all we really need to make a change in this world, and get the best leaders for today and tomorrow for sure. And to round out this episode, the Voice for You podcast the whole goal is to empower the leaders of today and tomorrow. And obviously that is a main part of, your initiative too. Everything that you've done is very youth oriented. So obviously, you're a good person to talk to about this too, because, you're striving for the youth, and, the podcast is striving for the youth. So, with that orientation, what is some advice that you can give to the younger generation, kids trying to lead their own communities and become leaders just like you were in your own?
I think one thing is just don't do things just because other people are doing it, and be very open to whatever comes your way. Send out those cold emails, but send it out showing your passion. Showing a genuine interest in that organization or whoever you're trying to send a cold email to. And once you obtain that opportunity, don't let it go to waste. So be active within that opportunity. If it's an internship, if it's teaching, if it's, whatever. Do even better things within that organization than you were called up to do. So definitely. I think that's one of the best advice I can give. And also within the organization or within the internship or whatever, make sure that you are actively making personal connections with the people that work there, just because it's through that personal connection that those same people are going to be the ones that are going to advocate for you when you need it. So in our case, it's probably college recommendations.
Yes.
But it's also might be just other opportunities that are within the community, and that they know of, and that they believe that you are the best person for that opportunity. Don't let that go to waste. So that's the best advice I can give.
Definitely. That is a big thing a lot of people have been saying. There are like a few things that a lot of people have mentioned throughout, this interviewing process, talking to all of y'all. And one was definitely networking. Network. If, you get 20 rejections, but that one, yes, can change a lot in your life. Like, if take my example, it's not a cold email per se, but if I didn't, cold DM you, we wouldn't be sitting here, having this hour-long conversation.
Exactly. It never hurts to ask.
Yeah, definitely. Some people you can get a no, like, and that's completely fine. You just take it with a grain of salt and you move
Move
on.
on. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. And but then that one person that says yes, understands the goal you're trying to get to, they are the people that truly, truly want you to succeed, and they see that for sure. So definitely, definitely. But once again, Tommy, thank you so much for, hopping on the podcast, spreading your words of wisdom to me and the audience members. It really does mean a lot to me. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, and good luck with the future of your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you. And then once again to the audience, thank you so much for watching till the very end. Remember to follow the Voice for You podcast on Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, I'm your host, Jeshwant Vana. Thank you so much, Tommy, for hopping on the podcast today, and we will see y'all next time. Thank you so much.